Depends on who wins the presidential race. If President Obama is reelected, we can expect that he will try to put through Congress. I don't think he can do it through an executive order. He's been doing executive orders lately for everything, but I don't think he will try to challenge the Constitution on this one. But his idea is to increase taxes only for those people who earn 200,000 and above, and for those couples who earn 250,000 and above a year. That will be completely insufficient to take care of the fiscal cliff. That will mean at most 44 days of income for the expenditures of the federal government. So there will be a little over 10% of the revenues needed. The Romney alternative, I think, has better chance in Congress and even in the Senate, even assuming that the Senate will be in Democratic hands. Congress will probably be in Republican hands. There's a more likelihood of the Congress being in Republican hands than of the Senate being in Democratic hands. But in any case, in the Senate, no party will have a 60-vote majority, which is the one that avoids filibusters. So the chances of the Romney plan are much better because he wants to lower all tax rates. Now, the Reagan Revolution began with the idea that, which has been proven economically and has been proven in terms of also population. That's how it started, looking at population. There's an optimal tax rate, like there's an optimum population in each country. And if you have too much population, it's really negative. If you have too high tax rate, it's negative. The proceeds from those taxes are actually lower if you have a higher tax rate. This happened under Reagan. The tax rates went down, and the proceeds, the tax yields were higher. So what Romney is saying, let's bring the rates down for everybody, and do what Reagan did in the 1980s with the help of a Democratic Congress. Reagan worked with the Democratic Congress, and this is the kind of thing that Obama hasn't been able to do. And with Steve O'Neill, he decided to have a tax decrease across the board and to have a reform of the tax code. And that reform meant that you widen the possibilities of obtaining returns from that tax, of increasing the tax proceeds, the tax yields, so that in the end you close a lot of loopholes, you eliminate certain deductions. He has promised that he would, for the middle class, would have a cap of at least a minimum amount of deductions, which I think is capped at $25,000, and then for those who have higher incomes, he clearly is going to find ways of even though he's reducing his rates, his tax rates, the yield that those people who are considered rich, let's say over 200,000 for an individual, 250,000 for a couple, he would keep the taxes, overall taxes that they pay the same, but they would pay lower rates, but they would have less deductions and less ways of evading those taxes through loopholes and otherwise.
And what happened with Florida State?
Florida is in a driver's seat. It's like Texas. It's one of those states who is expanding in terms of population. It will soon pass the state of New York in terms of population. It has a low tax rate in general, and particularly it has no income taxes. So Florida has a better probability than others to obtain a benefit from all of these tax reforms, because in the end, more people are going to come to Florida after all of the tax definitions that will happen at the end of this year, or more probably at the beginning of next year, in order to avoid the fiscal cliff. And Florida, having no income taxes and low tax rates, has already seen the population begin to come back to the state and to immigrate into the state of Florida, the same numbers that before the crisis of December 2007. That's when the recession started, and supposedly, by the way, the recession ended in July 2009. But I don't think anybody would believe that. But in the end, Florida has been finding that the population immigrants into Florida have come back to the same numbers as before, between 250,000 to 300,000 a year coming to Florida to live.